Welcome to the Books and Martinis podcast.
I'm Priya.
And I'm Mercy.
And this is your go-to book podcast,
where we lift, empower, and spotlight authors.
Grab your martini and follow along.
And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to our podcast. I'm Priya.
And I'm Mercy. Welcome, everybody, and especially you, Nanda. How are you? Welcome.
Cheers, Nanda.
Welcome. Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey. Okay, your martini looks amazing.
Yes, you have an espresso.
Espresso.
Oh, man, I wish I had an espresso martini right now. That's a good thing. Yes. Welcome, everyone, to our latest episode of Books and Martinis. And as you can see, this fabulous young woman on the screen, Nanda Reddy. She is the author of A Girl Within a Girl Within a Girl. Look how beautiful this book is. And look how much
that's a lot of work in your book. I love it.
It's so beautiful. Welcome, Nanda.
Thank you. It's so exciting to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. It's our absolute pleasure. We're so happy you're here with us. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So we were just discussing this before we started recording, but I'm Guyanese. And I was born in Guyana, and my family moved to the States when I was 9. And I have a huge family, because you guys were mentioning you had family in Miami. I have a huge family, and they all kind of were sponsored by my uncle, and we all moved to Miami. I just was back in Miami recently for a family event, because we have them. There's always a family event.
I saw. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. But my dad he's one of 17 brothers and sisters. My mom's 9. Almost all of them moved to Miami in that Kendall, Perrine, Homestead, just that whole South Miami area. And so I grew up there, and that's why part of the book is set in that area, sort of the more rural part of that area. But that's a little about me.
That's so
I
interesting.
love it.
What a small world that we're so connected. That same exact area you were talking about is where Priya and I met. And Priya has so much in common with you.
Well, I kind of feel like this is like very full circle. Like all three of us are connected to Miami because Mercy's from there. I lived there for how many years? Same area. Same area. We all three of us, same area. And I'm Guyanese. I also immigrated to the States when I was 3 from Guyana. I don't remember anything, very little from Guyana, probably like the plane ride. Maybe taking pictures the last day, but that's all I remember. And your book triggered so many different emotions, Nanda. Like and as our viewers can see, and for our listeners, I tabbed this book up. There are like so many annotations. I like highlighted stuff, even down to like songs that you mentioned, like Tiny Whiny and like things like that. Like, I mean, I hear these songs once in a while when I'm around family, but it's just so weird. I'm like, I felt both seen and like overly seen. You know what I mean? Like there was so much in here. But let's tell our listeners all about our book. Why don't you tell everybody what A Girl Within a Girl Within a Girl is all about?
Yes. So this is a novel that features a Guyanese American protagonist. When the story opens, she's an adult who has not revealed that to anyone around her or in her family. And so she gets a letter from her long lost sister, and her entire history has been a secret, and she's forced to come clean when this letter arrives because it has some devastating news. The story goes back in time, so you understand what she went through and why she ended up hiding her identity. It is a pretty intense story, and the backstory, and but that's woven with the conflict she has as an adult of coming clean to her husband. It's a story where there are two woven almost separate stories being told, but the backstory kind of takes over because that was what catalyzed her hiding.
And what inspired, do you want to answer the question, or you want?
No, go ahead. No. I'm like in awe with the story.
So I kind of feel like we already touched upon what inspired you to write your book, but go ahead. Why don't you tell us what inspired you to write it?
As an immigrant, I'm sure this happens to you too, Priya. We are Indo-Caribbean. We have Indian descent. And so we, as an immigrant, I'm often mistaken, as an Indo-Caribbean immigrant, I'm often mistaken for East Indian. I was on vacation with my family. The story popped into my head in a very distinct moment. I was on vacation with my family. A tour guide assumed I was from India. My husband he was 3 when he left India, but he's from India.
Yeah.
And I didn't, correct him, because I don't correct people often when that happens if it's not necessary. It's not important to get into the history of British colonialism. When we're looking at frogs.
Yeah.
The story, this idea of a woman who kind of hides herself or hides that part of her identity, popped in my head. And partly I wanted to explore that kind of erasing thing that happens when you assimilate as an immigrant. I was 9 when I came to this country, and that's a really formative time. I was thrown into upper elementary, and by the time I hit middle school, I knew I had to erase my accent to fit in, and I had to, there was that deciding what parts to show. You kind of become 2 people. And so I kind of wanted to explore a little of that. Now, when I wrote the story, it went full throttle and to a place where, I didn't, that's not what I'd planned initially. I just knew she'd eventually become separated from this family and distanced from this family because she, in the process of assimilation, changed a lot, and also because she would have needed to. I'm not distanced from my family in that way, but I do live very far away from my crew, that large Guyanese family that I grew up with. They're all in Miami, or in Florida, or some of them are in New York, but I'm all the way on the West Coast. And so I often get, where I'll live my life and I'm not thinking about being Guyanese, or there'll be people in my life that I've met who don't even know that about me because it's not how I introduce myself. And so, I just wanted to play with that. And then this story emerged.
And between the concept of it, the idea, and finalizing your book, how long of a period of time was that?
So I had this idea, it was like 2016. I remember, again, it was an exact moment. But I'd always been writing, and I was writing something else. I haven't published any other work, but
so this was your debut book?
This is my debut novel.
Wow.
It's not the first thing I wrote. I mean, but
it's the first one
I published.
Yeah. Wow. This is definitely I hit right off the bat, 5 stars, 5 martinis. I'm impressed. It's your first book. Wow, congratulations.
Published book. She continues to say that. She's got some great stuff. She hasn't published yet.
Yes.
Well, so all the stuff in drawers, they prepared me to write this book. And at the time I had the idea, I knew I wasn't really quite ready. It's kind of funny. No, you're not ready.
Yeah.
Also, I hadn't figured out how I was going to do the story quite yet. But then COVID hit, right? And I had kids, and I was sort of a full-time mom. And part of the reason I haven't published any of the other stuff is because I kind of went full throttle mom. And I thought, God, I could die in this book in my head. Nothing would have ever come out. I would never have achieved this dream I've had. But instead of going back and polishing one of the things that I'd already drafted, I knew this was the story that I wanted to tell, or I had to tell. That was a story I was sort of born to tell, because there are no Guyanese American protagonists in mainstream literature. There really aren't any Guyanese protagonists in mainstream literature, and so that was part of the reason I wanted to do that. And also, this was the first story that I wrote that had a character that sort of looked like me, that a character where I mined from my life. Priya, you're talking about feeling seen, the songs, the food, the zeitgeist of the 80s.
Yeah. Or just the way the family dynamics were. I mean, I come from a large family also. My grandmother had 10 children, my mother being one of them. And she came from 14 kids. My father's side was a smaller brood, but I think there was like 6 of them. And granted, these are the children we know about, because, you know, that's also another part of the Caribbean dynamic when it comes to fathers, right? And then coming here to the States and growing up so I grew up in Jackson Heights, and then I moved to an all Italian neighborhood. Whoa. So talking about assimilation, like I was already assimilated because I came here when I was 3, but that was like the hardcore assimilation because I was around, nobody would look like me in my neighborhood. I was the only brown kid here in eons. And I had to deal with a lot of, you know, racism, bias, all that stuff, made fun of because I was Indian. Nobody understood what Guyana was. They thought it was Ghana from Africa, which I still deal with to this day. Yeah, so that's why I always lead with I'm Indian. And then when they start to ask questions, I'm like, no, I'm just from Guyana. We came over here as indentured servants. And then I actually know where my family is from India. So later on in the conversation, I might mention it. So yeah, just a whole, your book just brought up all these thoughts and emotions. Like I was 100% seen in your story.
That means so much. I mean, I, you know, wrote it without trying to think about the audience, because if you do, then you erase, you just try not to say anything.
Yeah.
Right. Feelings or go where you're going. And the character led me where we went.
Yes.
But after I was done, I worried about how it would be received by the Guyanese community, if it would feel honest, if it would feel like that's authentic. It is an honest story. Right. And I'm so glad that
and you know, it's talking about that. So there's that like sort of like a blanket of shame, I feel, from the Guyanese culture. Like if you're not presented a certain way, you're not seen a certain way, you're going to be ashamed of yourself. You don't come to this country, be a doctor or a lawyer. You should be ashamed if you date outside of your race. You should be, and you touched on that too. I'm married to a Black Jamaican man. Can you, I don't need to say anything without you knowing like what I probably went through, right? And probably till this day, I'm still the only one in my huge family married to a Black Jamaican man or Black man in general. So
incredible man at that.
Yes, incredible guy. But like all the dynamics, there's this little blanket of shame, you know, that's not talked. You don't talk about certain things, you don't do certain things. And I really do think part of it's because of colonialism. Colonialism really messed us up. We came from this amazing heritage, and to Guyana as indentured servants, slaves, all these things that we had to deal with. Along with other cultures from Africa coming to Guyana as slaves, Spaniards, all that stuff that we had to deal with. And it messed us up, basically.
Yeah, no, shame is kind of like, it's part of the fabric of being a Guyanese person. And I would say in particular, a Guyanese woman or a girl. You know, from a very, very young age, you understand. Of course, this is all cultures to some degree. You're allowed to do certain things, but your brothers can do so much more. You're not allowed to do the same things as they can. You're a girl child, and the shame is even like, I mean, it's related to like what you owe the family. There's we come. Yeah, we come from a culture of like obedience, right? If you don't obey, and a culture of like, it's a family culture, a culture that puts family first, which isn't always a bad thing. It could be a very good thing when we're all supporting each other.
Yeah.
If you're in a culture like that, it can be just really
traumatic.
When you move to a culture of self-determination in America, you come to this culture where the girls, they'll say what they want. They talk back to the teacher. They have opinions. They feel like they should be heard. And you are sitting there thinking, oh no, the adults rule the world.
I'd be dead by now, right? That's what you're thinking. If I would have said that, that's how I felt when I got here.
You get lashed
the United States
with a belt or something.
Yeah. So that we come from this culture that, you know, idolizes like puts family on such a pedestal, and children, especially girl children, you're guilty before proven innocent. If someone says if an uncle or something says something about seeing you somewhere, suddenly you're in the wrong and you have to prove yourself. There's you know.
And if something happens to you, why were you dressed that way? Why did you act that way? Why were you there? Well,
and I mean, of course, that's still part of the fabric of just the whole. I mean, we live in a patriarchal world, right? The world it's right, but it's. Yeah, I wanted to capture what that was like for her, because she feels like she owes her family so much in the beginning, and she's bought into that, right? And then when she comes to America and she starts to own herself, and her ideas and feelings, and she pushes back, and ultimately pushes back so far she cuts them off. I wanted to show what that process would feel like. You know, I didn't, of course, do that with my family, and I didn't have any reason to, because they are a supportive family, but they're, and then the shame also that I touched upon in here is the shame of being an immigrant from a third world country, a developing nation. When you come from a third world country, you know you're going to the land of milk and honey and this glorious land you get here. Everything is put on such a pedestal, like the food. You're eating a Pop-Tart and you're like, wow, this is so much better than my dal and roti, even though that's clearly so much healthier, right? And the way they speak, so suddenly your broken English, your English is wrong, and it's not its own dialect, just wrong.
And she had to be trained to
talk
herself. American. By the mom that took her in. Now I know I don't want to share too many spoilers, but I feel like, I mean, from all my tabs, there are lots of things here, but even like her coming to the US, and Mercy's from Puerto Rico too, so she had an experience immigrating over here as well, and all the things that you expect from the United States, like Sunny. So Maya, she grew up as Sunny before she came to the States, and then she had all these iterations of herself and well, I don't want to give too much away, but so even her getting off the plane and she expecting something else, but instead she's like, oh, I smell like gasoline and like, you know, dry air, like whatever. It was not what she thought it was going to be. And I feel like that's every immigrant's experience when they come here. I mean, I don't remember when I was 3, but my husband, who's Jamaican, talks about it all the time. Coming here when he was 11, he thought the place would be green and beautiful, and he came here during the winter and everything was dead. You know what I mean? Like, we have all these expectations, immigrants, when we come here, and it's a whole different experience. And then the assimilation process is almost like another level of trauma that you have to go through. You have to like not shed, but like hide all those parts of yourself in order to feel welcome and seen and accepted and worthy of living here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a scene early on in the book where she talks about America. She sees the plane going up, and her vision of America is literally this land in the clouds. And I do that on purpose because I actually, when growing up in Guyana for a while, I mean, everyone would say, they'd see plane, they'd be like, oh, they gone up to America, they gone up there. And you're like, you can't be like, what do you mean gone up there? Like, and so I was like, up there, they're up there in the clouds somewhere.
They're up there on the clouds.
And I, you know, so she had this vision of it being kind of this, but of course she knew rationally that wasn't true, but that was what she had. And I, you know, of course, I did that on purpose to bust it. But yeah, there's so much that you realize is quote unquote wrong that you have to fix. But I think that happens especially if you come during a formative time. Like my parents and my family, they were all here together, and they had this community, and they were older, and yeah, they had to do a certain amount of assimilation, but they were also partly like, this is who we are. We're gonna have parties on the weekends. We're gonna play our music real loud, and blasting the tiny whiny, and the show up, and you're like, oh, I'm sorry, you know, like, but they're like, what? And they're outside cooking their food, and like,
the goat curry, the duck curry, smelling really high in the backyard.
Exactly. And it's not like you're embarrassed, you're proud that like you have this family, and that they you know, they're proud of themselves, and you're proud of the heritage. But when you are 9, 10, 11, 12, that you're trying to fit in, you're and especially
You have a different struggle.
Yes, I was in this like magnet program, so I was like this white girl. I was this brown girl and this white world, and they were all. I thought the whole world was Jewish because the school I was at, everyone had a bar mitzvah, a bat mitzvah, and it was just a whole different world, that school. And so I wanted. That's why she's at this magnet school, because I wanted to capture that like clash. If there are schools in South Florida that if you went to, there would be just it would be very diverse, because I went to high school like that where it was so diverse. And
what high school did you go to?
I went to Southridge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I don't even know where South Road is.
Southridge.
Oh, Southridge. Oh,
yeah, right by the house.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, now I know. That's awesome. Oh my God.
Yeah. What high school did you go to high school in Miami, Mercy?
I didn't, but my 3 girls went to Coral Reef.
Coral Reef. Okay. Yeah.
All in the same area.
Same area.
Same area.
I love that.
I have a question for you. Not to cut you off, because I think you were saying something, but I lost.
I know we were vibing here, Mercy.
I know. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
I know. I wanted to know her high school. What has been the most rewarding thing that's happened to you since you wrote this book?
Oh gosh, one rewarding thing that's happened to me.
I'm sure you've had many, but what's been the most rewarding thing after releasing this book?
I mean, can I say a couple? So I love hearing from readers, where they are truly touched, and like Priya saying she feels seen. That has been just so rewarding and affirming. Also, it landed on the USA Today bestseller list the first week.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And I feel really proud of that because, it's not a big book club pick, and the publisher is a smaller publisher. And so that I'm really proud of that. But it's going the first thing, like I said, where readers are seeing themselves. I love seeing all readers' reviews, but my family and friends, I was super nervous that they would not respond to it well. And so that I guess maybe is the most rewarding thing, is hearing my dad say he was actually proud of me. And because I was worried, because a lot of the male characters in here are not good guys. And so hearing good reviews from Guyanese readers, that's actually been really important to me.
Yep.
It's a beautiful thing.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I saw your post about your that you went and you did an event at a bookstore, and all your family members packed the room. And I saw she had posted pictures and stuff, and how nervous she was. You explained that in the post, how nervous she was, and I was just like, oh my God, just a validation from a Guyanese father.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It does. It means a lot. I was nervous about the Guyanese response. And no book is for everyone, of course. And but I'm just excited that it's been positively received.
Yeah. And I hope everybody, go ahead. We're talking over each other. Go ahead.
I know. Tell me more about the book cover, because I was drawn to your book like in an instant. It was just, I saw it, and between the title and the art, that combination, it's just so beautiful how you have that deep, I want to say it's like a dark gray, and then you have the lightness coming out of it with the flowers, and the title, it's just so beautiful the way that it's all put together.
So
how was that? Did you envision?
The designer for this cover is Mumtaz Mustafa. She's a book cover designer, and the publisher contracted her with her. I knew I would get a few or they told me I would get a few to choose from, but I only ever ended up seeing this because they nixed all the other ones and they still won't show them to me. But
they don't matter anymore.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter, because as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I love it. I love it. I don't think I want to see the other ones. I didn't actually envision flowers or of any kind when I thought of a book cover. I thought there'd be like a profile of some sort, like a face, or I don't know, lots of faces inset in each other, all sorts of profiles. That's what I'd envisioned, which but when I saw the flowers, it totally makes sense because when you go back to the adult Maya character, in each one of her scenes, there's a dogwood outside that has pink flowers, and there's a storm, and during her scenes as they progress through the book, the flowers just kind of make an entrance on the page. And so when I saw that, I thought, oh, that's brilliant. That's why these people are professional.
So the artist, they're doing. The artist read the book before they create the cover?
Right, but I think my editor had suggested that as well. And so, yeah, my editor had suggested that. And, but the author, I was hands off. Like I wasn't allowed to talk to the book cover designer to collaborate. It sort of all through the editor. And I think she suggested it. But as soon as I saw it, I mean, that beautiful dark blue, and then yeah, it really is. And then the title, it was actually, the working title was different. It was A Life of Deafening Lies. And that's because there's a deaf theme that also runs through this book. I actually have a sister, and when I started writing it and the deaf sister showed up, I thought, oh, I worry they're going to think I'm writing about my own sister. And of course it's not. By the time I got to the end, it was so tightly woven in, I couldn't undo it. My sister is totally okay with me having written multiple deaf characters. But I wanted kind of like this deaf thing in the title. And so that was the working title for forever. But then I was at a workshopping the scene where the title actually comes from. If you read the book, there's a scene, a chapter where you're like, oh, there's the title. But it's not verbatim. During workshopping that scene, the people in my workshop, there were 8 or 10 of us, they all kind of starred that on their copy, because when you read and you critique someone's work, you can like star or heart whatever you like, and also respond the other way to everything else. But everyone's loved that line, and I thought, wow, there's my title. That's it.
That's your title. That's how it came.
And that's
and it fits the book perfectly, like all the iterations of herself, and even like and you could tell me whether or not if you want me to edit this part out, but I have to say it. So and just analyzing it, like, so she is Sunny as a little girl. She comes to the States. She has to assume the name of another person, a dead girl. And in Guyanese culture and Mercy, they call it a jumpy. So all through the book, they're just saying jumpy. And I was just like, oh my God, that's like childhood right there. And so she becomes a ghost, a quote unquote ghost of herself, when she has to take on this new character, and sort of like takes on
take her identity with it.
Yeah, she takes that dead girl's personality and uses parts of it, like the strength that this dead girl had. She felt herself trying to like push through and use that to assert herself and assert her quote unquote identity through the book. And then again, having to become a new personality, Cynthia, and then finally Maya, like all these versions of herself. But she started off as a ghost. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, I thought it was really powerful.
I love that. Yes, I love that. I love that. That you
and it was a girl within a girl within a girl.
I wanted to ask you, what advice would you give other writers or aspiring authors that are writing a story, being that you've written several stories and you just published this one? What advice would you give them? Like, how do you feel about the whole process?
Well, apart from reading a lot, I do think read a lot and read widely. I think it's important to truly edit and edit completely. When I wrote the first draft of this novel, I was really disconnected from the writing world because I'd been raising my kids and kind of got disconnected from all that. And I live in Reno. It's not like the writing capital of the world. And so I went online to connect with people, and I went on Scribophile and Critique Match, and I found critique partners. But, when you critique chapters at a time, you get lost in the weeds. You can sit around and perfect a chapter or a scene that ultimately doesn't belong in the novel because it doesn't move the story along, or it's there's something wrong. But I do think for writers who are out there, I think it's important to get your whole story down before you critique, because you can get lost in those weeds and lose your spark before you get the whole story down. I learned this because I'd already written 3 other things. And so I was fortunate enough to get all this down, and then find beta partners and alpha partners. Like beta swaps and alpha swaps are what I did initially, where I read their work and critiqued their entire work, and they read the entire thing, critiqued it back. And I did rounds of that. Initially, you know, when you finish a novel, you're like, oh, and you edit it yourself, of course, and then you're like, perfect, it's perfect. And then when you get that hard feedback, it is difficult to digest. But you have to, you're in service of the novel, you're in service of this work. And so I would let it digest, and I go, okay, yeah, they're right. Okay. And then I'd go back and fix all of that. And then I'd go find more people, and I'd swap again. And I did that 12 times. And by the end, I knew it was ready for agenting, because the feedback was, oh, it's great, or it's just like nitpicky stuff, not structural development.
Yeah.
And so
how long was that time period from when you well, how long did it take you to write it? And then how long was the period of time of edit before you released?
A year and a half to write, a year and a half to edit.
Okay.
So, but about that time, I was 2023, mid 2023. 2023. And I went out, and because I had done that work, I felt like it was strong when I sent it out to agents. And so I had agents say yes, even though I have zero connection in the industry. I went in the slush piles and sent my query letters out, and had them want to read it. And so that was positive. And then I had my agent. And when you have I edit with my agent too. I did 2 rounds of editing with her, and then we sent it out to editors and publishing houses, and then I sold it. And so,
wow,
wonderful. That is wonderful. How many hours a day would you say you gave your book?
Hours a day. I'm not a sit down and write for a certain number of hours a day. When inspiration hits, I can write all day, and the time flies. And you know, the kids, I'm like, just go figure out something to eat. And
I'm in the zone.
Go feed yourself.
I can write, and I have to make myself go to bed. And then I get up in the morning, and I could become a true workaholic. But then I can also get in very fallow periods where I just read a lot and think about writing. And
it's all part of the process, though. I mean, you have to do all those things to come back to your writing.
Yeah. We love listening to all the different techniques and processes and timelines that all the different authors have. We've had authors that, like, within a day, they wrote the whole thing, and they were like ready to move on.
And they're like full-time teachers and stuff.
Yeah. And we had one that took over 20 years doing all the research behind it.
Yeah.
We've heard it all. So we love to hear the stories of, you know, because we've had people that say, oh no, I'm up at 5 a.m. and I write until like 7 a.m. and then I get ready for work, and they're very religious, or, you know, they're very disciplined on their time schedule.
I always
just random people.
Writers. I want to be the sort where I could sit for a certain number of hours every day. And I think if you do that, you definitely get work done, because sometimes if you have to push yourself into that space.
Right.
Absolutely. So why don't you share with us what's next, and how can our listeners and watchers find you?
I am working on something new. I'm not sure, but I also have another idea. I kind of have ADD when it comes to writing sometimes.
It's okay. Talking to the right people here.
Yeah.
The thing I've been working on, that it's halfway through, is a heavy story just like this. And partly it's being in that space that it could be a little much. I mean, it's a lot for the readers when they're reading it, but it can be a little much as you're writing it. And so I'm starting something new that's lighter, which is a departure from this, actually. But it's a Guyanese American protagonist, and I don't want to say too much. The other thing about we're all superstitious, right? And I feel like if you say it, then you lose that spark too. But yes, I am working on some things. I can be found on Instagram. It's the only platform I really use. I do have a Facebook account that was old that I reactivated, and it kind of
cross posts.
Yes, cross posts. I wasn't on social media for years because it's so distracting. And I might have to get off of it for a little while to like write the next thing, because I've been busy marketing, and it's so important for marketing and reaching people, especially when you live in Reno, and you're disconnected from the writing world, and you're a relative unknown, which is what I am.
Yes.
Well, I believe 100% you're not going to be unknown for very long. This is just,
I agree.
This book, the right person's going to pick it up. Like I'm going to share this with my family. I'm going to send a copy to my niece. She lives in Cali. She would eat this up, and have my kids, if they want to read. I have 3 boys, but if they want to read it.
Age, right?
Yep.
They have to be the right age, I think.
Oh no, they're all big. They're all good. Big. I have big kids. But thank you so much for being our guest today. I am so glad we connected and we were able to share in your story and really dive into Maya's adventure that she had. This is like an amazing woven story about her life and all that she experienced. And I feel honored to have it says advanced reader copy at the top. I was like, oh
yeah.
I love it. Oh, I feel so touched right now.
I love it.
I so appreciate you guys. I so appreciate being on. I'm going to cheers you one more time. This is on the Martini.
Yes.
Cheers.
We have ours, but we like yours.
This has been so wonderful. I really appreciate the sport, and
we appreciate your time and sharing all your thoughts and secrets and behind the scenes with the book. It's been really special, so we appreciate you, your time, and your story.
Thank you.
Thank you for being our guest. Everyone listening and watching, make sure you find her on Instagram. We'll put all our information below. Make sure you like, share, follow, subscribe, all that great stuff. And we'll see you in the next episode.
We'll see you the next time. Bye, guys. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.